At 3:15 a.m. on June 22, 1941, the relative quiet of the Eastern Front was shattered. A thunderous artillery barrage erupted along over 2,000 miles, signaling the start of Operation Barbarossa, the colossal German invasion of the Soviet Union. This marked the beginning of one of the largest and most brutal military operations in human history. German forces, over 3 million strong, surged across the border in a surprise attack, catching the Soviet Union off guard. The scale of the invasion was unprecedented, with German forces divided into 3 massive army groups, each tasked with capturing key objectives within Soviet territory. The initial onslaught was swift and devastating, as German tanks and infantry units advanced rapidly, exploiting gaps in the Soviet defenses. This attack, a culmination of months of meticulous planning and preparation, represented a massive gamble by Adolf Hitler, who believed in a swift victory against the Soviet Union. The sheer scale and ferocity of the initial assault stunned the world. And the Caucasus region faced fierce resistance from the Red Army. The objective here was to capture the vital oil fields of the Caucasus, denying the Soviet Union crucial resources. Integral to the early successes of Operation Barbarossa was the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force. Enjoying numerical superiority and tactical advantage, the Luftwaffe unleashed a devastating air campaign against the Soviet Union. The skies roared, with the engines of Messerschmitt Bf-109 and Bf-110 fighters, Junkers Ju-87 Stuka dive bombers, and Heinkel He-111 bombers. Their targets Soviet airfields, communication centers, supply lines, and troop concentrations. The initial days of the invasion saw the Luftwaffe decimate a significant portion of the Soviet Air Force on the ground. This aerial dominance proved critical in facilitating the rapid advance of the German army groups. The Luftwaffe's relentless attacks disrupted Soviet logistics, sowed chaos and confusion, and significantly hampered the Red Army's ability to mount a cohesive defense. However, the Luftwaffe's early triumphs were soon to be challenged by the growing strength and resilience of the Soviet Air Force. The initial shock of Operation Barbarossa gave way to a fierce and determined Soviet response. Despite suffering heavy losses in the opening stages of the campaign, the Soviet people rallied behind their government, determined to repel the invaders. The Red Army, though initially caught off guard, began to offer increasingly stubborn resistance, utilizing their vast reserves of manpower and material. The Soviet Air Force, though initially devastated, began to recover, bolstered by the production of aircraft like the Ilyushin Il-2 Sturmovik ground attack aircraft and the Yakovlev Yak-1 fighter. Soviet pilots, fighting with incredible courage and tenacity, inflicted significant losses on the Luftwaffe. The vastness of the Soviet Union itself became a weapon, with the Red Army employing scorched earth tactics and exploiting the harsh winter conditions to slow the German advance. Operation Barbarossa, despite its initial successes, ultimately failed to achieve its objectives. The Germans made critical errors, including underestimating the Soviet Union's industrial capacity, the resilience of the Red Army, and the harshness of the Russian winter. The operation marked a turning point in World War II. The Eastern Front became a meat grinder, consuming German resources and manpower at an unsustainable rate. The Soviet Union, despite suffering unimaginable losses, rallied and eventually pushed back the invaders, ultimately liberating its territory and playing a decisive role in the defeat of Nazi Germany. Operation Barbarossa stands as a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the dangers of underestimating an opponent's resolve.